And I've always ran to solve my problems. And I just remember running and thinking about why I got into real estate. And I saw my dad's initials, which is KAS. Then I thought of my firstborn son, Eli. I started fucking crying, because I'm like, I'm going to do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not your typical Overask podcast episode. We had on a real estate legend, Keven Stirdivant, who has sold over $2.2 billion worth of real estate. He went deep with us on mindset. He talks about the mindset it takes to go from $500,000 to $1 million to $10 million to $30 million listings. He talks about the 7 equities, how he built the KASE real estate brand, and he also gives me a personal therapy session. Watch all the way through, and I guarantee you will be inspired.
The Broke Agent presents Overask Podcast.
Keven, thank you so much for being on the show. We're excited that you're here. Eric and I were talking backstage before you came on, and you have a pretty crazy backstory, and we want to, I guess, just jump right into it. Let us know, how did you get here into real estate? You've now your team sold $2.2 billion in real estate. How did you get here?
That's a long question.
Start from birth, please.
Yeah.
Born in Oakland. No, I mean, I think everything that we do, all the ways we grow up, right, all have an impact with how we got to where we are, how we make the decisions that we make. But I think how I grew up did have a lot to do with how I got into this crazy business. I was born in Oakland, and I didn't really know what my dad did growing up. But we got to have some fun. We got to go on these crazy vacations. I got to go to a private school, and probably around maybe 5-6 years old, I just remember some chaos happening in our house. And then my dad was gone. And it was a little while before my mom kind of explained to me what happened, but she was really witty. She was really quick with it. And she's just like, look, your dad has decided to go to fire school. He's going to go to a fire academy to become a fireman. I'm like, damn, dude didn't even say bye. Okay. She's like, so the next time you see him, it's going to be behind a glass because he's got a lot of smoke around him. So, it's better. You're going to be talking to dad through a phone and a glass. Then when I was around 10 years old, I realized my dad did not go to fire academy. My dad was into some other stuff. Amazing human being. He passed away in 2012. He was only 50. But that kind of chaotic upbringing, fortunately, I found skateboarding. I think skateboarding was my best education for real estate in multiple ways. One, I was a street skater, so I'm looking at ledges and banks and smooth ground. It made me look at architecture. I naturally developed this affinity for mid-century architecture. Think about any Eichler home. Google A. Quincy Jones. Google case study house. Shrink that thing down, and it is the perfect skatable object. It's either a flat roof or an A-frame. So I didn't know that. Skateboarding gave me that visual eye. Skateboarding also taught me how to hustle because I had sponsors. So I would sell all my old stuff to get by. My mom let me move out of the house when I was 13. She let me just move in with a friend. And so I needed to make money. So I would always hustle all my old stuff. And most of all, skateboarding taught me that the key to succeeding is just falling on your freaking face and never giving up. Get back up. That's the key to breaking through, is you got to fall down and get back up. That's how you win, is you got to fail. So, I went through a lot of schools. And then when I was a junior in high school, Costa Mesa High School, I got the news that I was going to be a father, and that wasn't really my plan to go into my senior year of high school with a baby Bajorn on. But it made me step things up really quick. My mom worked for the top real estate coaching guy of the 90s. And I was my mom's role play partner with all of her scripts and dialogues, selling people these coaching programs and these retreats. So, and I would go in after high school to where my mom worked I can't say the name of that place, but I would go in there and I would make cold calls and she would pay me under the table. So when I get the news about being a father, I knew the sales manager over there and I'm like, dude, I'm about to have a kid. I need a job. I know all the scripts. I'll work for 2 weeks for free. I need to make some money. And he's like, what about school? I'm like, I'm done. He's like, he didn't ask me if I graduated. So what would have been my senior year of high school, I started working full time at that place, selling tapes, like legit, like a tape program. This is the year 99, 2000. Upgrading people into CDs, selling seminars, selling coaching. I become a top producer there. I get fired from that company in 2003. And at this point, my son's 3 years old. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? I know all these scripts. I've been prospecting my ass off 7-8 hours a day, standing up, just prospecting real estate agents. I could definitely call expireds. I could definitely call FSBOs. Let's go. And it took me a year to pass the test. I failed the test 6 times. And in 2003, you had to wait 30 days to get the result. Then when you got the result back that you freaking failed, you had to wait 30 more days to get the response. And the response date, the new date, was 30 days out. So every time I failed the test, it cost me freaking 100 days.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I was working under the table for this dude, just door knocking for him. And then I finally get in 2004. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Pretty. So that's the journey of getting into the game.
Okay. There's a ton to unpack. I feel like I should have been taking notes. There's so much to unpack there. What I love about this, though, is like about this industry is it's really not a one size fits all industry.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of has their own journey, and you would think, there's a lot of in your journey, there's a lot of times where it seemed like you could have just been like, screw this. It's too much, and kind of given up and, just been an ordinary kind of work a 9-to-5 job and be done with it. What was that? Have you always had that drive? Did skateboarding really give you that drive to like, or is it like something you want to prove yourself, chip on your shoulder? Like, what was that drive to really like do something more with your life?
Yeah, man. There was this chip on my shoulder that I really started to work on through a lot of therapy that I actually developed at a really young age. I grew up pretty traumatic, living in after having it all. We have, it's like, didn't have like a rags to riches story. Like I was born into my pops making a lot of money. And then everything fell apart. And next thing you know, we're on welfare and we're bouncing from house to house. We're living on couches of my mom's friends, you know what I mean? And so I grew up with there were some pretty traumatic moments growing up for sure. But there was one moment specifically that I went through something with my dad where, I was like 6 years old and we're going through this thing. And I think everybody's got this moment, whether it's something gnarly like what I went through, or, you raise your hand in class and you get the answer wrong and everybody laughs at you, but you label yourself something. So 6, 7 years old, this situation happens and I literally label myself. I didn't learn this till years later in therapy, but I labeled myself worthless. I literally said as a kid, I'm worthless. And I spent my whole life trying to cover up this feeling, making money, any means necessary, having nice things, trying to get the nicest car, all to do what? All to cover up this feeling that's deep rooted that I'm worthless. And so that definitely carried me. That I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to show you unnecessary energy that I carried did become a winning formula to get me to a certain point. But, as I grow up and you start to work on yourself, I'm like, who am I trying to prove myself to? Nobody cares. Everybody's got their own issues and problems. And you start to uncover those things. Whereas now my purpose is different. I don't have any options. I have too many kids. We keep having kids. So like now I just have to succeed. And I'm inspired out of my mind to give my kids a really rad legacy and more than like what I'm going to leave my kids with when I'm gone. It's more about like what kind of mindset did I have? What kind of human being was I? How was I to other people? So, but the pathway to get here was a lot of that, man. Was a lot of like feeling like I'm not good enough, and then making the decision to step into Orange County luxury. Oh, that was on a loudspeaker. Like, you don't belong here. Getting listings, and you just go through the roster of every single real estate brokerage in Newport Beach and Corona Del Mar and Laguna Beach. Go through the roster. There's a general theme of how everybody looks on that roster. And I felt that. And I may be attracted more of that because I was already thinking it. I would get listings, this is 2012, 2013, and people would be like, how did you even get this listing anyways? A lot of that, highly territorial, as I think any area is. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy battle. It's been a crazy battle for sure. It has not been easy. I think the majority of people who are working the luxury market out here, and nothing's wrong with this, but the majority is like, yeah, I had, my dad owned this mortgage company and my great grandpa designed the roads, and, like their last name means something. Like nobody ever heard of Stirdivant. So, it's different. I had to pound the pavement, and it's going to be a little easier for my kids now if they decide to get into the game, which my oldest son already is.
Worthless is a pretty difficult swing thought to have constantly in your head. And I know what you're talking about when you have that moment where you like have this narrative about yourself.
Yeah.
I had nothing traumatic, but I didn't make the golf team sophomore year. This is like the douchiest thing I could possibly say. But
here we go.
There is a point to this, and I was good in high school. I was a 1 or a 2 handicap basically. But anytime I would play a tournament or play for tryouts for the golf team, I would shoot like 15 over par. I was a complete disaster, complete mindset. So I had this mindset, and I still kind of carry it with me, that I'm like a choke artist, where I'm really good in practice. I'm good with my friends, or I'm good, speaking on a podcast or something. But when it comes to like that moment, that's when like the adrenaline and the nerves kind of basically take over. So where was that moment where the worthless mindset for you was gone? Like, was there a specific moment, or was it just kind of a general shift as you became more successful in real estate?
It's still there.
Okay.
It doesn't go away.
Shit.
It still pops in. Like I say, the ego is not your amigo. It still pops in. Think about it like this, right? Like, it was such a big deal for me to get into the $1 million mark. So my first decade or so I started officially selling under my name in 2004.
How old were you in 2004?
In 2004, I was 22. So I'm about to be 41 in a few weeks. So I'm 22 years old. I get into the game, and naturally I'm going to sell homes where I'm comfortable, right? I grew up in the hood, and I grew up in San Gabriel Valley and Rancho Cucamonga. My average sales price was like $350, $450. Like back then, if I got a $600,000 sale, that was a really big deal. Like, woo, 600, and my best friend in the world started an incredible clothing company called LRG, Lifted Research Group. It was like the first hip hop, snowboarding, skateboarding brand that like meshed all these cultures together. Like in 2004, 2000 to 2006, there was nothing really touching this brand. It was a very authentic streetwear brand that was one of the first brands to break like 100 million in sales. Everybody from Kanye to the Roots to Deepak Chopra to Robin Williams, like rocking this brand all in the same week. And that was my best friend, like a brother to me. He was my first son's godfather, who started that company. He passed away in 2011. 2 years prior to that, in 2009, when LRG's is blowing up, he asked me to help him buy his first big home. I lived 45 miles away, but I'm his boy, so he's going to give me a shot. And I do a deal for 1.3 million. I still run into that agent all the time, Victoria Strombaum. And I'm like, Victoria, remember when I called you? Like, I remember looking at my phone and there were 16 freaking pound signs because I was calling her and said, hey, Victoria, it's Keven Stirdivant. Just want to let you know I sent you, oh, fuck. And just so nervous. Like,
Redoing the voicemails.
Dude, that was in 2009. I don't sell another $1 million home until 2012, the month after my dad passed away. When my dad passed away in 2012, we have the same name. I'm 30 years old, 29 years old when he passed in January 2012. And I see my name on funeral papers. And I'm just like, the year before that, I sold 2.5 million total in real estate, right? I sold like 5 or 6 deals, average sales price, 500,000. My best friend, Jonas, he passed away in May. I'm knocking doors. I'm making cold calls. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do from May to December 2011. I don't sell a single house. I couldn't. I was freaking rocked. I would be on my way to a listing appointment. And then if you've lost anybody, you know how that feels. For the listeners or even you guys, you lose somebody close to you and you're on your freaking way somewhere and the wave just hits you like a ton of bricks. I would be on the way to an appointment and just waterworks, and I'm about, now I got to go on a listing appointment and talk comps. And I'm like, I didn't sell a single house. So in 2012, when my dad passed, it was like that darkness. They say the darkest part of the night is right before the sun comes up. And that darkness that I had gone through with my best friend passing, when my dad passed, it turned to anger. I was like done being sad. I was done. I was like, I had 3 kids at this time, right? So at this point, my firstborn son's 11. My son I had in 2008, he's 4, and I have a 6-month-old daughter in 2012, January. And then I lose my dad, and I just snapped. And I'm like, the funny thing is, when I snapped, I said, I'm leaving real estate. I'm out. I'm going to go do what I'm supposed to do. And I thought I was going to be a motivational speaker. I'm like, I'm going to take all the Tony Robbins stuff, the Zig Ziglar stuff, the blah, blah, blah. This was before everybody and their mom was a life coach. And I'm like, I'm going to make this stuff cool for people. And my mentor, this dude named Thatch, is like, Kev, yeah, love it. Young T-Rob with cooler sneakers. I get it. Sounds really rad. You got 3 kids, bro. Like, and at this point, January 2012, for anybody who was an agent at that time, we didn't know we were out of the recession. We didn't know. Like 2011 was gnarly. That was the worst of the worst. He's like, bro, I don't know if getting people to pay you to be a life coach, if this is the right time. Let me ask you a question. Why are you leaving real estate? Like, you're good at this thing. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I sold freaking 5 houses last year. Like, I hate this. I hated the business. Like, what do you hate about it? I hate who I am. I hate that I have a split personality of like Kevion, who skates and listens to hip hop and is like motivating to people and likes to dress a certain way. And then I have Keven Stirdivant, who everything I say is by a script. And when I go on a listing appointment, I'm like, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. At the end of my presentation, there's going to be 1 or 3 things that's going to happen. Number 1, you decide to list your home with me. Number 2, you decide not to list your home with me. Or number 3, I may decide to not take your listing. And every one of those things is an option. Like,
if you said that to me at a listing appointment, I would throw you out the door.
That's what I would, and that's but that's who I was. That was my training at that point. And I'm like, fuck this. I can't do this anymore. On top of that, I'm short selling homes in 2011 for 600,000 that I sold for 800,000 in 2006. It felt horrible. And one question changed it all. He said, all right, I get it. Great. I hear the complaint. Let me ask you this. If you could have it anyway, if you could design the dream real estate business, what does it look like? And I'd never thought about real estate like that. I only went to the seminars and heard what the guys on the panels do. And okay, I need to sell 300 homes a year. I never thought about it like that. And we started to chip away at the vision. And the vision was, damn, well, what if I could create a personal development and real estate company to have my company represent like, hey, we're here to help you with your life period. If you buy a home through this whole thing, cool. But no matter what, we're here to help you get to a higher place in life. We're here to teach you goal setting and mindset and affirmations. And I'm going to dress how I want. If I were to stay in this thing, I'm going to dress how I want. I'm going to have my own thing. There's not a single brand that I liked at this point. Nothing. Like the agency, and I met those guys around 2013, 14, were the coolest people that I had ever seen in real estate.
That's my brokerage. Thank you.
Bro, I met James first. James invited me to this party. And I'm like, holy shit. These guys had a t-shirt that said, no assholes allowed. This is the coolest company. And that became inspiration because that was the starter. There were no other cool brands before the agency. So the problem was, who am I to create something cool? I sold 5 homes, right? But I didn't let that stop me. It was like, I'm going to be the go-to for like the young entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. And I also want to have there be a heavy focus on mid-century, modern, contemporary, even though that's limited in Orange County. Bam. And then I'm not here to have fun, right? Like I'm not only here to have fun. I got mouths to feed. If I'm not making $1 million a year doing this, I'm not doing it. And I'm going to give myself 5 years to do this. The year before that, in 2011, I made $63,000 or something. You know what I mean? With 3 kids in Orange County. That's tough. So we write out that vision and it's like, well, what's the name? And I wanted something short and I wanted something that means something. And I've always ran to solve my problems. And I just remember running and thinking about why I got into real estate. And I saw my dad's initials, which is KASE. Then I thought of my firstborn son, Eli. I started fucking crying, because I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I had not sold $1 million home since 2009. The MLS doesn't lie. And I'm like, I tell my best friend at the time, Tim Kruger, I was like, let's see who could get to a $2 million house first, but I'm going to sell a mid-century or architectural house. This is literally like 2 weeks after my dad passes away. That we start to chip away at this vision. And I remember getting a call from this dude named Nick Diamond. I sold him his house in 2004, FHA financing, $725,000. Hadn't talked to him in a little while. Owns a clothing company called Diamond Supply Co. And he's like, Kev, my company's blowing up. Like, I just got approved for a loan. And I'm like, say two. He's like, I could buy around 1.5. I'm like, sick, I'll take that. We start looking at homes. He's like, I want something mid-century, architectural. About a week into our search, he calls me and he's like, dude, I just talked to my accountant. Dude, I could go to 2.5. Right around Valentine's Day, 2012, we buy a sick house in Studio City on a street called Woodhill Canyon. And we close escrow. The same thing that happens at this point was Instagram was starting to pop off. At the closing party, at our closing dinner party, I remember he got his K. Like now Nick Diamond has like millions of followers, but I remember he got this K that night. I had like maybe 300 followers. He takes a photo of him and I in front of the house, says, thanks at Kevion. And it was like, holy crap. To see it like that. And this is back in the day when everything that's posted, you see everything back then. And I'm like, I'm going to use this app to freaking blow my brand up. And when that closed, that was like, all right, I got this. And that year I made like 275. And then 4 years later, so I did it in 4 years. 2015 was the first year I earned 7 figures.
Huge.
Isn't that crazy? Like, when you have that switch in mindset, but not only the switch in mindset, but you actually believe in it. And then things seemingly just start falling into place how you've envisioned it. I'm very big on law of attraction and things like that.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy.
It's crazy when you ask, like, when did it click for you? And I'm like, the worthless thing. And I'm like, dude, it always keeps coming back because there's new levels, new devils. So we build the business. We get our place to like when we became an independent brand, which was 2020, was our first full year as an independent brand. Like, we started as an independent brand. At the end of 2020, we had achieved our first billion in closed volume. Not that year, but all the years together. But just to be able to say, like, damn. And I built a great name. I achieved all these crazy records and blah, blah, blah. But there was only one time that I did an 8-digit deal closed. I had listed some, but only one time closed. And that was in May 2016. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 5 years. Where the hell's the other $10 million deals? It was back to that, like, and a kid who was on my team at that time, a young dude, 22, 23 years old, he helped me do that first $10 million deal. And I never stepped back into that. Why not? They're happening all over the place. And last year was the first time where I decided to crack that. And I've been talking about it, always talking about it, of course, but I didn't believe it until last year. I didn't do anything differently. I didn't start dressing differently. I didn't create a luxury website. I had an honest conversation with myself. And once again, it was in a very dark place. We almost lost our daughter when she was born. She swallowed all this meconium, and we immediately went from her being born to being in the ICU. I mean, it was gnarly. Lived in the hospital for a month. Spent Christmas and New Year's there going into 22. And it was actually in that space where I'm like, damn, the only way I'm going to get more time with my kids without having more stress is to increase my average sales price. That was my motivation. I think all the other times it was greed, or not greed. It was more like vanity and ego. And that wasn't enough. Like, I needed a real reason. And so when I connected more time with my kids to the $10 million price point, and I have clarity, I said, 2022, I'm selling 10 homes above 10 mil. I was maybe a little too big. I sold 6. But that was it, man. That was a big breakthrough. And now I'm going through it again. Like, am I good enough to sell the 20 and the 30s?
What action steps did you take besides the mindset of how do I get to these 10 million? Like, what did you start doing in the field? What sort of people did you start reaching out to? Was it like a networking push? What did you do in the field for this?
So I'll tell you exactly how the deal came about, because it was actually one deal that resulted in 43 mil, which was just psycho. I want people who are listening to know that it wasn't even the action. It was the quiet time and digging through the core and uncovering why I wasn't doing those deals in the first place. That was the bulk of the work, honestly. And I am such an open book. I'll say exactly how I did it, but I really want people to get that what I did physically, the physical action is not as was not as impactful as the quiet time spiritual action of why can't I do these deals and blah, 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 blah. So once I set the goal, and I set that goal right away, we got home from the hospital January 2022. I was very clear. This is the year. This is the year I do 10 deals above 10 mil. Dude, here's what's crazy about this. So like the year before that, I met this dude that has the house of all houses. If you Google 230 Kings, this is one of the dopest modern architectural homes designed by this group, Laidlaw Schultz, who are true connoisseurs of like mid-century case study homes, but they do the big dogs now. 7,000 square feet on a 16,000 square foot lot. It's the freaking one in this neighborhood, but no ocean view. I had knocked on this dude's door. I had left this dude notes before, but everybody knew about this deal. And like, he had shown it to other agents, but long story short, I got a DM from somebody who would come to me a lot for her TV show to film, her show. And that's Christina. She has a show, Christina on the Coast. She was, she's like triple OG in the house flipping shows. She DMs me And she's like, hey, my husband and I are looking for something sick. I know you do a lot of modern. What do you got for me? We could go up to blank number. And I had a video in my DM, in my phone about that. And I shoot it to her in the DMs. I was like, I know this property. This dude would sell for like 12. The highest anything has ever sold for in Orange County history for a non-view home is 9.8 million, right around the corner from this house, which was like a psycho number. Brandon Architects, like sick. And this dude told me, hey bro, you bring me 12 million bucks, I'll sell my house, right? Sent her the video, and she's like, where the hell is that? Give her the address. Call the dude. Hey, bro, like, I got somebody. She's serious. Her and her husband, they're players. The first 5 minutes in the house, she's just like, just says the F word. Like, we were like in the powder bathroom, little glance at the kitchen, and that was it. And she just looks at me and she's like, sell my house that I bought last year for $1 million more than I paid, and I'll buy this all day long for 12. And she lets me list her place at the Strand. I sell that off market. She bought it for 10.3. I sold it for 11.5. The guy I sold the 230 Kings to buys a house for 8.3. Now we're in the flow. Bam, bam, bam. And then it's the same stuff. But it's not like I had never knocked on 10, 12, $30 million doors before. It's just who I was being was not prepared for that. I wasn't ready for that. You know what I mean? I was still scared, worthless guy who's just like, let me go out here and knock it. No, I had to like mentally, physically, spiritually be ready. And now I'm trying to do that and overcome my negative BS with the 20s and the 30s. I had an opportunity to do a 40 a month and a half ago, and I feel like I dropped the ball. I didn't get it. I didn't attack it. I got the up to bat, but I didn't attack it. Somebody else got it, and I'm like, whatever. Thing's not going to sell. Sells in 2 freaking weeks. So constantly working on what else don't I believe?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And why? What's that shit all about?
Now, this is very inspiring to me because I'm currently trying to get into a higher, I have gotten into a higher price bracket in my area, and I'm trying to get like higher and higher. And I too, like, I'm not exactly I want to dress the way I like to dress, but I understand that like there's boundaries as well. Like we hear all over this industry now, like, oh, just be yourself and who cares what anyone thinks. But like, that's not exactly true either. Right. So how did you
100%.
find that balance? Because, when you look on your Instagram, you're not exactly in a 3-piece suit all the time.
Right.
You're you.
Right.
You're how you look right here. You have like a very cool style. How does that translate into ultra luxury real estate?
So you got to know your stuff first and foremost. You got to really know your stuff. I just went on an appointment right before this for like 10 and a half-ish. And I feel like I wasn't dressed appropriately, to be totally straight up. It was an older couple. I saw them looking at my shoes. I got some fresh Air Force Ones on. Why is this real estate agent wearing a hat? Like, all right, well, what's more important here? That I'm comfy and casual, or that I get the freaking deal? So I could have stepped it up a little bit more. Not to say I didn't get it. We had a crazy rapport. After I saw some kind of looking at me and assessing, though. What do I want to do that for? Just put on a nice sweater, put on some clean khakis or whatever. You know what I mean? So it is a balance for sure. The fashion thing, my thoughts are really just keep it tight, man. Like keep it on point, look good. To step into the higher price range, man, my dude Weston, he was on Aaron Kerman's team. This dude really wears whatever the hell he wants. But it's on point. I just feel, though, that Hollywood is a little different. Like, you could get away with wearing a beanie in Hollywood. That ain't going to fly selling waterfront homes with a dock in Newport Beach. It's different. So I think it's just like, what's more important to you? And I guess the advice would be like, know your audience. Know your audience. Because there's a lot of people also in the higher level. They'd rather hang out with somebody that's a little bit more
Well,
casual.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Like if you came in like you look right now, to me, I would think that's sick. Like
Yeah.
that's you'd like I'd love that. But
Yeah.
again, older couple, they're maybe expecting someone in a suit or a sweater or a something like that. So I think that's really good advice.
You're
Here's
definitely
the
right too that there's a certain swag to, I don't even know if it's called swag, but that LA agents,
for
when they
sure.
come in with a beanie or just a t-shirt, like especially in Malibu, that is part of the lifestyle. And then if they're selling 20 million, $30 million homes, then they almost get that allowance by everybody to
Yeah.
dress like that, because you're like, damn, this
Yeah.
guy's such a boss. He didn't
Yeah.
have to show up in a 3-piece suit. He's in his slippers walking around the beach right now, and he's
Yeah.
still impressing me, or she's still impressing me. So there's definitely something to that too. Once you hit it like a certain level, like look
Yes.
at Gary Vee, that guy's not in 3-piece suits ever. Ryan Serhant, he's always in suits, and he
Yes.
talks about how his brand
Yep.
like exudes luxury and all of that. So
I've
it
been
really
on
depends.
I've been on multiple listing appointments with Aaron Kerman. So my first $35 million listing was with Aaron. I co-listed it with him. I brought him on the deal. This was 2018. I didn't feel like I had it in me to just go and attack that. And I've seen him multiple times. He was always in a t-shirt and jeans, you know, and I think you have to, the most important thing is that you feel confident, right? But yeah, on the appointment earlier today, for example, I was like, yeah, I probably should just done my hair. Probably should have done my hair. Okay. So
I love that though. I mean, it's all learning. Like, you
it
know,
is,
you live,
man.
you learn, and now maybe next time you're not going to do that. And there you
Yeah.
go. You're not going to get them all.
No.
Just is
And,
what it is.
and so I'll say Mondays, I like to get really suited up because I have resistance on Mondays. And so putting on the outfit, like when I put it on, I'll rock a 3-piece suit on a lot of Mondays. It's like, I better freaking go somewhere with this suit on. You know what I mean? When I put a 3-piece suit on, which is a few times a month, it's like, I better go somewhere with this freaking suit on. And so you do feel it. You know what I mean?
Matt, I just pictured you or myself walking around in our own apartments in a 3-piece suit just to try to get us to
Oh
actually.
no, for sure. I'm like, I better go somewhere with this. I
Yeah.
better meet somebody.
I'm going to
with this
post a
freaking
bunch of
suit on.
fire memes in this suit. But I do agree. Like even this, like this is not obviously something nice here. I'm just wearing, a cashmere sweater, no big deal. But just putting this on made me a little bit more productive today than the days where I'm just sitting in like a broke agent shirt and a robe and slippers, because I
Which
feel
is
like,
the
all
other
right,
6 days of the week. Yeah.
correct, 100%.
Yeah.
But on podcast filming day, I look like this. I shaved, the hair is done.
Yeah.
There's definitely something there. So you're a big mindset guy.
Yeah.
Matt's a big mindset guy. Matt journals, he has internal talks with himself. I'm
Oh,
becoming mindset curious because I have this negative narrative in my head, like I mentioned before, of the choke artist.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about the 7 equities, I believe, on other podcasts. I'd love for you to touch on that and then give me or the audience any recommendations on books, people to follow, or kind of where to start, because there's so much, honestly, there's so much horseshit out there from life coaches or from people just parroting other talking points, but you're like the real deal with this. So I'd love to hear about the 7 equities first.
Hell yeah. There's like 4 right off the top. Like just give people these 4 things that I feel are really, really powerful. The first one is the 7 equities for sure. So like the 7 equities was this thing that I kind of put together that I saw when I dropped out of high school. All my college essentially was Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Landmark Education. And I noticed all these guys kind of talked about these areas. Some were 6, some were 8. And I kind of just meshed these together for the 7. Definitely didn't invent these. I may have put them together in a certain way, but the first 3 is mind, body, soul. We've all heard that before. 4 is family. 5 is social and relationship. And 6 is business and money. So in 2018, I started writing these out for 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, and 20 year. Just like, how big can I go in each of these areas? Mind, body, soul, family, friends, business, money. The philosophy is really that we're all aiming for abundance. We're all aiming to achieve more. We're all aiming to experience joy. The lie, though, is that getting to the next level in work, driving a nicer car, making more money, getting married, getting a house, having passive income. Oh, that's going to make me happy. That shit ain't going to make you happy. Like, sobriety is a big part of my life. This April 29th, 7 years, totally sober, no drinking, no smoking, no drugs. A lot of people, I don't know if it's just California, but like, they don't drink, but they smoke, but they're still considered sober. I'm like, damn, that's not fair. Like, I don't get to smoke, but I don't, none of that. You know what I mean? This April, 7 years. In 2015, it was a gnarly year for me. It was the first year I made a mill, bought my dream home, bought my mentor's car off of him, spoke at mega camp in front of 10,000 people, blah, 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 blah. I reached all the goals that I thought were going to make me whole and happy. And 3 months later, because I started practicing my sobriety in 2013. I think I had 9 months when all this stuff happened. March 2016, I had a major relapse. And it was so confusing because I know why I wilded out before. It was very easy. It was like a professional rager. Like, my counselor, my therapist would be like, look, dude, this whole like have a glass of wine thing for you, just smoke a little bit thing for you isn't going to work. You are a professional rager. You've been doing this for too long. You are a professional at blacking out. So you could say that you're just going to do a little bunt, but it's just a matter of time where you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you hit that grand slam. And that's what happened to me in March. And it was confusing because I'm like, how did this happen now? I know I did it in 2000. Shoot. I know I did it from 93 to 2013. I know why I did it for that 20-year period. It was easy. I had pain. But why am I doing it now? Home, married, beautiful family, blah, blah, blah. Why am I doing it now? And it just, you idiot, back to the 7 equities, you dummy. Mentally on point, physically not bad, spiritually, and let's just kind of skip that one. Family strong. No, you got to have all three. You got to have all three of those pillars. And spiritually is going to mean something for everybody, right? Could be yoga, could be your relationship with God, which for me, that's what it is. It's my connection with God. For other people, it could be walking in nature. It's being connected to that higher power and to yourself. You can't just skip over that one. And mental, I've been strong there. But again, I look at mind, body, soul as like 3 pillars, 3 legs on a chair. You knock one of those legs off, you're going to fall. And so the 7 equities has been very, very, very powerful to develop clarity and understand that the first place to really ball out is your mind, body, soul. Then you can really be there for your family. Then you could really be there with your social circle and your friends and be dope there. Then most importantly, you got those 5 popping. You get to real estate to make money and you're happy and you're joyful and you got a clear set of goals. You're freaking unstoppable. You're unstoppable. So that's the 7 equities. And I encourage people to write out goals in the 7 equities year after year, go out 10 years, be aware of the negative self-talk. Like you said, right? You said an affirmation. You said, I have a negative mindset, right? That in itself is an affirmation. And we all say affirmations that aren't self-serving. I'm really tired today. I really don't feel like prospecting today. I'm really over this. Those are all affirmations. So affirmations is whatever you declare to yourself. And we have the opportunity to say, I'm inspired out of my mind today. I can't wait to get out there and hit these doors and prospect today. I am a powerful $1 million listing agent. I am a specialist selling luxury homes, oceanfront. I'm an incredible father. I easily maintain my sobriety. So your 7 equities, you can write them out using the SMART method, right? Specific, measurable, action, realistic, and time sensitive. 7 equities, SMART method, mesh those things together. Give yourself the time to chip away at that. But the gist of it is that the real party, real wealth is in the first 5.
Do you think there's something to saying positive affirmations, even if you don't necessarily believe it? Let's like strictly golf, for example. If I'm
Yeah.
getting up on the tee box and I'm telling myself, I'm going to hook this ball into the cart lady's face. I'm going to slice it out of bounds. I'm going to slam my club on the ground. I'm going to be furious. But what if I went up there and I was just like, no, I'm going to stroke it down the middle or stripe it down the middle?
Hell yeah.
Even though I think
Hell
still,
yeah.
even though I'm still like, nah, I'm still probably going to hook it out of bounds. But what if I tell the group I'm going to knock it down the middle? Like, is there something to that too? Or is that just kind of like false, bullshit, basically? You do that, Matt?
Yeah, I
You
do.
know.
I do that. I do that. And
Yeah.
and the
You
cool
say
thing
positive
is
things out loud?
always. I always put it. I think you have to put it out into the
Yeah.
universe.
What's
How
more
about you,
question
Kevin?
is, what's more important, saying it or feeling it?
Feeling
Right.
it, I would
Feeling
think.
it. And whatever you say, you might not only have to say it once. You might have to say it 1,000 times.
Right.
I'm the greatest golfer in the world. I'm the greatest. I guarantee you, Tiger Woods, whoever all the other golfers are, I'm sure it's ingrained in them. I mean, you study Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Kanye West, Eminem, right? Spielberg, Seinfeld. You study the greats in any industry. Where it started, either mental conditioning from their parents or maybe the opposite. Like I love the fact that my dad did what he did, right? And I got to, it sucks, but I spent 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th birthday while other kids are celebrating in Disneyland, Chuck E. Cheese, or whatever, hanging out with friends. My mom took me in this weird place, this weird environment with all these grumpy people. I remember waiting in a line. I remember having to go through some security thing, like when you're at the airport, and then seeing my dad in this outfit and visiting my dad in jail. I spent my birthdays in jail, but my dad was like happy. And he's like, hey, just so you know, like I'm doing okay in here. He looked good. He was getting better. He was getting closer to God. And that showed me like, we don't have to be products of our environment. We get to be products of the choices we make in our mindset. So that gave me this feeling of like, damn, it doesn't matter where you're at. You get to choose, but you have to create it. You have to declare it. I've got this. I'm good enough. And again, I'm good enough. Your mindset's like, no, you're not. You can't sell $10 million homes. You don't know. It's not happening. I can sell 10 million. I sell $10 million homes. No, you don't. And who's going to win? For 5 years, I let the other voice win. If I didn't, trust me, from the time that I sold the tent, my first, it was $11.3 million. Google it, 845 Cliff Drive. That was the last time prior to last year that I sold a sale over 10 million bucks. I knocked a bunch of doors. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I knocked hundreds, probably thousands of $10 million plus doors. Why did it not happen until 2022? I was sincere that I was going to do it in 2022. So I was even saying affirmations in 2021. I, Keven Stirdivant, sell $10 million. Wasn't believing it.
And sometimes it takes a second for it to,
Yes.
has to it's like, if you call someone on the phone, they're not ready to list their house tomorrow, but maybe in 6 months. And the cool thing about all this is it's different for everyone. Everyone's journey is completely different. Like for me, I find so much comfort in knowing like I have like an amazing wife. I have awesome friends, awesome family. And Eric, you have the exact same, great wife, friends, family. Like I feel like I've already won.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's almost like icing on the cake. Like, this is fun. I've got the stuff that really matters.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was talking about this with a really good friend of mine last night that's going through some challenges with a client that he has. And this dude is like crazy, gnarly, buku balling, right? But he's miserable. He looks at what we've got and how our kids are rad and well-behaved. And, he's got 6, 7 nannies and, just nothing wrong with having nannies. I actually would love to have 6 or 7 nannies. It's just, I think when
Sounds
you have
great.
6 or 7 nannies, there's a lack of connection with the parents and the kids. So he looks at our kids, looks at the way our wives are passionate about our work. My wife is highly involved in my work. We're a team. That shit's priceless. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go after the 20s and the 30s and selling a 40. But that's not going to make me who I am. And I'm not going to be stressed out and frustrated on the way to get there. I'm going to love this life right now, every ounce of it on the way. And that's going to come when it's my time for that to come. Like the amount of pilots I have filmed for these different shows and all these people, you and your wife got to have a show. Oh my gosh. And I always feel, it seems like we're so close to getting a show and then it stalls out for whatever reason. And I'm like, we ain't ready to have a show. It's all good. It's so loud at my house right now anyways, with all my kids. I don't know if anyone's going to watch that show. Maybe I need to wait till my baby's like 2.5 and she stops yelling at everybody all the time.
The show's just too loud. That's
Very
the
yelling.
main feedback.
It's crazy. So it's trusting the process, man. Trusting the process. One of my favorite quotes of all time is from Russell Simmons. He said in this book called Do You, he said, don't think that there's going to be gold at the end of the road. Instead, value the process and know that the road has been paved with gold all along. So there's the end destination. You know what I mean? I did an Ironman last year, which was insane. And yes, cool. Crossing through that finish line was like, that wasn't it, man. It was like the freaking challenges getting through that thing, who I became with this group of friends and what I learned about myself on the journey. And when I crossed it, it's over. That's it. You know, it's who we become in that process that I think that's where the party's at. That you set a goal, your mind's like, you cannot do that. It's not happening. And you're like, yes, I can. Let me create some of these affirmations. Let me work on this negative self-talk. All of a sudden you start to believe it. You get closer, you lose it. You keep trying, you lose it. You keep trying. Bam, you finally get it. I'm like, dude, you know, that's why I'm constantly in this space of like, when I achieve a goal, I give myself a little small celebration period, like 12 to 24 hours max. Because if I don't set a new goal that challenges me and inspires me and makes me nervous, I'm in a very weird space and I don't like it. I very much so I'm in this philosophy of like, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I have to continue challenging myself and experiencing a little bit of like struggle. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. Constantly getting uncomfortable
Constantly
to succeed. Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Keven, this has been one of the most inspirational episodes I think we've had, at least for me personally. Very, very amazing. Thank you so much for being on. I'm so stoked.
Eric, hope we improve your golf game.
That was the entire goal of this.
Matters,
honestly,
bro.
I was like, I got to bring on Keven just so I could knock it down the middle. So everybody, this was basically a private therapy session for me. So thank you so much.
Kidding. I strongly believe with every ounce of my mind, body, and soul, Eric, that you could be on the PGA Tour. I'm not kidding.
Look, that's not the goal. That's not the goal. I'm just trying to go out there and shoot, an 82 every now and then without losing 15 balls and snapping a 6-iron over my neck. This leaks into other parts of my life too. But
I just believe that it's possible, and that if you chose to and you gave it all you got, you could be on the PGA Tour, bro.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you'll see me in the Masters, or I guess when this comes out, you'll see me in the PGA Championship, or maybe you'll have seen me win the Masters by the time this comes out. So there we go.
Words for everybody, right? Why not?
Why not?
Love it.
Exactly. Keven, thank you so much for coming on. Let's get Keven. Keven, you're at like 50,000 or something Instagram followers. This is a foundation of your business. He's got a great YouTube channel too, where he's got a daily vlog. A weekly vlog. So everybody go subscribe to Kevin's YouTube channel. And then for the people listening, what is the Instagram handle so they can follow you?
Instagram is my nickname, Kevion, Kev like Victor, ION. Kevion. Just add Kevion.
Hell yeah.
Along with
Thank
everybody
you.
else, I'm verified now. So
Congratulations.
Badass.
Yeah,
Anymore,
besides Matt and myself, we're the last good people on
Yeah.
earth.
Love it. Thanks so much, dude.
Thank you guys, man. Keep doing
Thanks,
what
man.
you're doing. Super stoked. Thank you.
Awesome.
Man.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Over Ask Podcast.